मा सकमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। शांति शांति शांति। All right, sign up everyone.
Sairam, Sairam. Some issue with the Zoom,
Sairam,
Siddharth just
Ashu.
Sairam. Pratibha aunty, आप कुछ कह रहे थे? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
yeah, Siddharth just messaged that there's some issue with the Zoom.
Okay.
So he'll be joining shortly. Yeah, he's trying.
Fine. But till then, I'll at least give a brief introduction. So basically, जैसा आपने कहा था आंटी, and Siddharth also had messaged, I think कि अभी Swami's birthday month is coming, so it's going to be very, very crowded with a lot of events, and we want as many people to attend those. Mostly सब online ही होंगे. So we will give a break to study circles in November. तो ये हमारा मतलब it will be a last study circle from that point of view, and then we'll resume again in December. October के लिए, so we thought we have this one session and we can probably use it to discuss just generally all the topics we have spoken about. Any questions related to that? So I know we had a few questions come in earlier. So and we thank you for sending those. But so we got a chance to sort of think about that, and I think Siddharth will try and also give his thoughts about those questions. But feel free to even ask questions in the middle of the session. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं भेजा तो नहीं पूछ सकते. But कुछ है, if something connected comes up, let's make this a more interactive and lively session from that point of view. So that is the basic idea. Now, having said that, I'm trying to see the list of questions here. Before that, Siddharth is about to join, right? Let me see.
No, he hasn't joined. We can take up questions like the first one. You can go with it.
Yeah, we can start questions and let's see what we all have to say through these questions together. So let's
So for views we can take now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I think this is a pretty sort of comprehensive question. So I will read that. I think Supriya is joining us and so is Siddharth. So let me start reading that question. It says, we have listened to various topics such as desire, attachment, expectation, etc. I do agree with the fact that the mind it says enough is perfectly fine. Each morning we get up with a vow that we will not get angry, come what may. But when the least expectation of a mother to a child, like study your exams, are nearing in a gentle way, it is rebuked by the way of shouting and creating noise and blaming the mother for all the scenes enacted. And we tend to lose our temper as to how can a child, be so furious for no reason or rhyme. And we promise ourselves that we will totally surrender the child in Swami's hands. But are we supposed to just turn a blind eye whether the child is studying or not, and using unpardonable words? Is this called unwanted desire? So this was, I think, one question that came up, and it's a sort of a situational question. So do we have any thoughts around that? What do we feel? I don't know. First of all, was it clear, the question? Did it come across fine? I'll try and summarize it in एक दो sentence में. Basically हम बोलते हैं स्वामी को कि हम आपको surrender करेंगे, गुस्सा नहीं होंगे, but situations happen in life, and especially this इस respect में कि एक बच्चे के साथ when the mother is interacting कि हम the child is not studying, and then you tell the child to study, and then the child becomes furious and uses unpardonable words, and then it's not behaving well, and then you think you'll surrender it to in Swami's hand, but you want to do something about it. So is that desire good, not good? Basically, how to tackle that kind of a situation is what I understood. If it was something different and just a question that if you want to, come ahead and word it differently, feel free to do that. But this is what I came across. So any initial thoughts on this? हम सबके साथ ऐसा
Can I
मेरे
say
साथ हुआ है.
something? Can I
Yes,
say
Vishnu,
something?
please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, this is not exactly a desire to guide your child and all. That is a part of your duty, and that also has to be done in a limit kind of thing, which I was in fact just reading a quote by Khalil Gibran, that your children do not come from you, they come through you. So we have to guide them. I don't think that is a desire as such.
But how about there's one interesting aspect in that question, right? Ki, we feel angry about it in the sense, jab nahi hota, and the child is not doing what they're supposed to do, and it appears very logically. I mean, you have exams, you have to study, and that's not happening when you do. So, वो anger का क्या करे? Yeah, auntie, you saying something?
So after years of experience, after being in that same situation, I think beyond a point, even the mother, no matter how good the desire and the intention is, has to step back. And they have to sort of accept certain things, whether they like it or not. Because every soul that comes to us or comes through us has its own life path, and their experiences in their previous births may have put them in this kind of a situation with us. And we cannot totally control, dictate, or expect them to do what we want them to do. I think at some point, then if we are losing control on ourselves, we have to look at ourselves again and try and regain at least some part of our balance, because we cannot keep being angry. That is not good for us.
Ashu.
Yeah, please.
I have, forwarded that message to the Sai Circle group, which I was just telling you about. I mean, I how to read it? Should I read it out? Would you read it
please.
out?
Please feel free to read it out.
You read it out. Otherwise, can you put it on the screen if people want to see it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Or you can just read it out, no? I don't know how to.
So why don't we do this? Give me a second. I'll share it on the screen. In the meantime, auntie, if you want, just start reading it out, and I'll put it on the screen in a second. Because it's tough for me to download and read out. So give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you all can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts. For they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. Was that clear, Auntie?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's very beautifully worded. Very aptly,
Yeah.
it's like being detached from your children is the basic sense I get, and you doing your duty. And as Aarti Aunty said, I think you have to draw a line, and uske aage kuch, you cannot go too far ahead. But I think the larger question here is kind of that there are situations wherein we end up losing ourselves, and although we have decided early in the morning that we will not lose it, but we still end up losing our temper. वो हो जाता है, and I think and situation to situation there are different solutions. Like if it's with the kids, I think we discussed कि कैसे handle करना है, but there may be other times, and I think we have spoken about various other times कि उसको कैसे tackle कर सकते हैं. What are the things I think across all the sessions, and things about, we spoke about how to control anger, we spoke about how, and it's obviously we cannot go into a lot of details, but things like we spoke about techniques to tackle anger. हम कैसे उस समय we can do some silent sitting, mindfulness, and those are like on the spot kind of things, but we can also practice some things which over the time will help us calm down. So things like meditation across different sessions, and a better understanding of ourselves. So हमने ये सब discuss किया throughout. I think it's in two parts basically, as I understand it, wherein one is creating constant habits, and we discussed about kaise ki, you keep putting positive thoughts in the glass of muddy water, and ultimately becomes clean. So when the situation comes, there'll come a time when you will not get agitated. So constant practice is one thing, and then in that situation also there are some things we can do jiske wajah se we can sail over that. So that's what I remember from some of the discussions we have had. Anybody else would like to share their thoughts on that? I could see Siddharth here as well. Hi, Siddharth. Sairam.
Yeah, Sairam, I hope I'm visible and audible now.
Yes, you are. I don't know if you were able to hear a follow-up conversation to that, but this was the first question which we had also outlined in our group. But and were you able to follow what we were talking through?
I could hear only one thing, and then the screen got frozen, and I was out of the entire Zoom call. So
so you have no background what we spoke. So unadulterated. What are your thoughts on that question?
No, I think when we spoke, the last piece of that entire long question was, is it a right desire to have? I think it is a right desire to have to get the children educated, or get the children on the right side, if I understand the question correctly. Okay. But it's important because we need to show a lot of patience. Okay, because children are quite what you call
patient.
Hindi mein bolte chanchal type. They are always shaky. They are more restless than any of the elders that we have, and it's natural because all of us at that age we were of the same kind. So when we go back to our age, of 8 or 10 or 11 years, we would have behaved in a similar way. So in fact, if you're okay, maybe I can crack a joke, or rather a real life experience of Swami, which was quite humorous. And maybe we can start off from that. It is always good to start with the laughter. So, I mean, it was not planned. It just popped up. Maybe Swami is hinting that we should share this experience. It was a time when the Trai session was on. And, Trai session, how it all happens in Vrindavan. Some of you may know that Trai session is, Trai Vrindavan is Swami's residence. And every evening after the bhajans, at 4 to 4:30 normally bhajan time, and 4:30 Swami indicates all the students to come inside the Trai. And Trai has a nice central hall and also an external, a round hall where Swami's Jhula is there. And he sits there and he, spends almost 1.5 to 2 hours, almost like an interview with students. The students are roughly 250, 300 inside. So it's not small, but all of us can comfortably accommodate around that Jhula, and, kind of you get a 1-to-1 with Swami. And Swami is very informal. So it's just not like, he'll give suddenly a big yarn and then the world will be different. Nothing of that sort. It is very informal interaction. And one of those Trai sessions, and on one side, a lot of elders sit. Okay, a lot of elders sit. So all the trustees and VIPs who come there, or the warden of the hostel, principal, teachers, some guests. So those also are, kind of part of that entire session. And one of those guests sitting there, and in one of those sessions was Mr. V.K. Narasimhan. I don't know how many of you know him. V.K. Narasimhan was earlier editor of Sanatan Sarthi. He's no more. But in those days, he was quite old in our times itself. This happened in the time when I was studying. So we had a hearty laugh in this entire event when it happened, unfolded in front of my eyes. And he was sitting there and he was quite angry on the students. And, all of us knew what went wrong. So we were also worried that what is he going to say? And he was very open to Swami. He can just go and say, Swami, your students are bad. He had that kind of connection with Swami. So, and we were like, all of us were shivering and we didn't know what to do. Something had gone wrong. So I'll keep it suspense for now. And then Swami came and sat on the Jula, and then he just got up before even Swami could ask anybody. He just said, Swami, your students are indisciplined and they are not good. So he said with so much anger, and we were like shivering. We said, that's about it. This is the last session and we'll be out anytime. And but Swami was, very benevolent. We looked at him and said, what happened, Narasimhan? So he said, Swami, when I was coming, I was entering the Trai, these students came from behind and they rushed so fast that my stick, he was very old. He was carrying a walking stick, and somebody actually, kicked that stick and that stick flew. And you can imagine, an elderly person like me is treated like this by our students. And it was an incident which, Swami will definitely never pardon, and it's not a right incident to have. And but Swami completely bamboozled everybody by saying that, Narasimhan, when you were of their age, you were running behind ladies and girls of your age, trying to fall in love and get attracted to all those. My students are running for God. They're attracted towards God. So don't look at it in that way. Because see, normally what happens, moment Swami's bhajans are over at 4:30, there's an indication that happens, but all the boys have to rush inside Trai. So actually, when you see, it's like a mad rush. Everybody is literally breaking the lines, and because whoever wins the race, is sitting right below the Jhula, and Swami's feet are on his lap. So that is the chance you get, and it's not for few seconds, it's for 1.5 to 2 hours. You can massage Swami's feet. Swami's both lotus feet are on your lap. You can actually press his feet and you can see this close. You can actually feel his breath. That kind of, physical proximity you get. So obviously for that chance, who will not run? So boys just run moment you get a chance of, indication that Swami is called inside. And in that fit of things, see, when you're blinded by, complete, devotion to God, or you desperately want to be close to God, you don't know what's happened around. You just focus on that, and then these kind of events happen. So actually in that rush, his stick flew, and then Swami said at their age, you are running behind girls and these boys are running behind God. So, you should not tell. And then obviously to appease him, Swami scolded us also, so that, there is a balance between the two. And there's no better master than Swami to balance everybody's, the moods and emotions and complaints. So Swami also said, boys, we should be very careful. Don't be indisciplined. It's not good and all that. But he managed that by saying that, boys are running behind. So what I mean to say is, when a child is there of 10, 11, 12 age, we are at 60, 70 age, then naturally there is a big difference. Okay, and we need to think like the child. And if we are in that age, what we would have done? They are little restless. They are influenced by a lot of friends around. It is always said that till age of 8, 9, the parents are world to the child. And after once you move to 10 and beyond 10, the friends are world to the child. So the world has changed for the child, and obviously is looking at getting influenced by all the people of the friends which are there around. He feels what they say is right, and parents, what they were saying till now were not right. And in that state of situation, what is important is the child needs a friend. The child doesn't need an elderly person who wants to instruct the child. Do this, don't do this. Because the mind is so small, that restless, and they're not able to comprehend what has been given to them. So we have to come down to that level, precisely what Swami did to us, all of us. As devotees, he came down to our level to make us understand what he wanted to make us, what he wanted us to understand. We have to come down to that level, befriend the child, and speak to him in his own language. And to quote what Swami always says, I will give you what you want, so that someday you will want what I want to give you. It's a famous saying of Swami. I will give you what you want, so that someday you will want what I want to give you. And that is liberation. So right now we are at a gross level. We always ask for Swami, I want, a good job. I want a good house. I want a good child. I want to have this. I will give you everything. But someday you will come and ask me what I actually have come to give you. So in the same way, when we come down to that child's level, we have to befriend the child, try to understand what are his moods, emotions, what he goes through, what are his influencing factors. We have to give him that comfortable environment where he can share what he wants to, kind of share with us without any inhibitions, without any apprehensions. And once we have won the confidence, then we have all the chance to influence him to study well, to be well behaved. And also added to that is lot of children are, all of us, in fact, when we were a small child, we were also influenced by role models. So, if you have a good role model, whom we really aspire to be like, you can use that role model also to cull out those good qualities and impress upon the child. That becomes a bit, life becomes easy for us when we want to deal with children. That is the way which we can think of. These are some of the ideas which we can suggest, and it can be experimented. And maybe next time you can give us a feedback. Whoever has asked this question can give us a feedback whether it was successful or not, and then we can evolve from that experience. I hope that answers. It's a long answer to that one question, but I hope it answers to some extent. Okay.
Sounds good. So that I know we had like many questions. And we thought we will make a priority based on, based on nothing actually, but just pick up a few, and then when we run out of time, we can cut it and we can see if maybe through some other answer those questions got answered. Otherwise, if they're still pending, we'll obviously reach out to those people later on. So do you have something in mind as to which ones you want to take up first versus others?
Yeah, so we have got 10 questions, of which one is already answered. So now left of 9. And out of 9, what we had thought about is top 5, which are really deep ones, which probably connect with the topics that we discussed. We'll take them on priority. If time permits, we can go to the remaining 4 questions to answer them. And in case it's not, then we will have to see if we can do it in the next session whenever it happens, because there's a big gap in November, and maybe in December we can take it up. If somebody wants one-to-one, we can do one-to-one also.
Yeah, one-to-one, or we can make that as a topic and start talking, because if they are not connected to the topics already discussed, then we can make that a topic by itself, right? Because that means people have those questions in mind.
Sure. That's a good idea. So, okay, so with that, we are already almost halfway through. And apologies for joining late. And somehow my
let's move forward. Yeah.
Zoom did not cooperate with me for whatever reason, maybe. So, okay, coming to the top 5 questions, and the first one, which I thought could be important for all of us, is how important is prayer as a disciplined daily routine? This was one question which was asked, very basic question, but it's important because it will impact everybody.
And like you mentioned, Siddharth, what we can do is we can see what everybody on the call feels about it, and then we can have some concluding thoughts, right? Because we've discussed some of these topics, people may have had experiences, so we'll try and make it more interactive that way.
The only challenge with that style of looking at is we may end up answering at best maybe 1 or 2 in 7:30.
So I'll keep some tap on time. We'll probably put like a 5 to 10 minutes for each question, and then move forward. Unless nobody has any thoughts and everybody just wants to listen to you, then we'll just get back to you again.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Ashutosh to take a call, but we'll have to be very.
Let's see what we will have to say about prayer as a disciplined daily routine. What do we feel? How important is it to pray every day? Any thoughts? Yes, Aarti aunty.
Actually, this is something that Bhagwan said just recently in his discourse, and I heard it just today. So he was talking about the time he had the fracture in his hip. And he said, my bones are so strong that it is impossible to put anything into my bone. And he said that 2 of my students, one sat at my foot and the other sat at my head, and they kept praying for 1 month. They didn't leave me. And the prayers of everybody in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, he said, today I'm standing in front of you because my body is yours and your prayers have made it possible for me to come here. I'm the Dehi. I'm not the Deha, the body. And because of your prayers, so that was, I was stunned when I heard it, that Bhagwan said that only because of your prayers. He said, whatever I do, your devotion is what makes me do everything. Your devotion is what I need, I want, and that sustains me. So I found that very moving. I mean, it was unbelievable when I heard that. So
Very
thank you,
interesting.
Sai Ram.
उसमें तो उसमें से स्वामी saying कि प्रेयर से उनको फायदा हुआ, बट हम इधर हमारे फायदे की बात कर रहे हैं कि प्रेयर करके हमको फायदा होगा कि नहीं। वो तो बड़ी सेल्फलेस प्रेयर हो गई जो आप बात करते हो। but thanks for sharing that. It was very insightful. Anybody else would like to share कि how important is prayer in a daily routine, हमारे for a disciplined daily routine, how important is prayer? Any other thoughts?
In my opinion, prayer is a form of disciplining your mind. एक हम लोग रूल बना लेते हैं कि मैंने सुबह उठा, मैंने स्नान कर लिया, मुझे प्रे करना चाहिए, ये शुरुआत हो जाती है। लेकिन जैसे हम लोग प्रे करते रहते हैं, and as the days and the years roll by, we understand the value of praying because it gives you peace of mind, and peace of mind leads to so many other positive things in our life.
Wonderful. तो आप कहेंगे एक major benefit of praying every day is you get peace of mind, which is kind of the base of multiple benefits in life. तो peace of mind मिलने के लिए it is very important. So that's a very nice takeaway. Perfect. Any other thoughts? Bindu Bhaiya is raising his hand. Go ahead, Bindu Bhaiya.
Yes, Saram, brothers and sisters, Saram, brother Siddharth, Ashu.
Good to see you again today.
Yeah, prayer. I think this topic is something which very briefly I will say, prayer is faith in action and service is love in action. So actually the prayers, it instills the faith, catalyzes it and moves it towards surrender. That is number one. Number two, I feel prayer is not something that changes around things around us. It changes us so that we can change the things around us. That was something which I saw Mother Teresa quoting it beautifully, saying that we always pray thinking that some outcome is going to come around us. But the subtle part of prayer is it changes us. So that was a thought that I felt, I feel always to connect whenever I'm connecting with this feeling that it should change us before we think things around us change. And lastly, if you pray, you don't fall prey. So these were my thoughts into which I wanted to convey.
Beautiful. Perfect. Aarti
Yeah.
kuch kya?
Can I say?
Yeah, Priya Didi, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that prayer I feel is a communication with God. This is what I feel. See, you can pray anytime, anywhere. And it is for all or for yourself. It is like I just feel it's just a communication which gives you one-to-one connection, like soul to soul. Matlab connection deta hai. When we talk to God, whatever is there, I'm not asking about what we want to ask. Even whatever we want to speak, what we have in the mind, we can just speak to Swami, in form of a prayer. That's what I feel.
Perfect. Superb. Perfect. So basically what I'm hearing so far is ki, prayer is a form of communicating with God, right? And you are opening your heart to God. And with that, like Bindu Bhaiya said, you generate faith in yourself and in God. Faith stronger hota hai. You end up changing yourself. You're not falling prey to anything else. And then as Mangalam Aunty said, ki because of all of those things, the result is also peace of mind. And all of this is impactful, which Aarti Aunty said. Swami ने बताया कि impact तो होता है prayer का, मतलब कोई सुन रहा है आपकी बात. So I think very beautifully summarized. Aarti Aunty, आप बोल रहे थे कुछ, after that we'll go.
I think ultimately prayer gets us in touch with ourselves. The end result of it is if our prayers are, as we progress, we learn about ourselves. I think ultimately we focus less on the outside and we go more inwards. I think that's our prayers.
Yep, and it also strengthens the relationship with God, just so Shanti care 100%. So yeah, with that, again, trying to keep track of time here. So that any final, or rather than final, any things you would like to add to this?
I think it's more or less covered by everybody, but a couple of things, because offline, few people did ask me that what is the mantra I need to chant for prayer? What Veda chanting should I do as a part of prayer? Now, important point is you don't need any mantra, because when you're talking to your father, you don't need to chant Om Sai Shwaraya with my. It's just say, Father, how are you? It is as simple as that. So prayer can be very, very simple. It is heart to heart talk. So as one of you said, it is communication, and communication is absolutely simple, heart to heart, as if is a family member or a friend or a father or husband. Like Meera said, Krishna is my husband, whichever form you want to see. And more importantly, yeah, it is good to be disciplined in the morning. That moment you have bath, sit for prayer, but we have to be a little careful that it should not become ritualistic, because moment you become mechanical, it loses the impact. Because the two things which Swami always says are most important ingredients of prayer is, one is love and second is faith. Faith that God is listening to you, that is a foundation to prayer. Otherwise, there's no communication. And second is love for God. It's a communication with love and affection to your kith and kin, and that's how we see God in our prayers. Not as Bhagwan somewhere in the altar, and I'm somewhere down. It's one-to-one interaction with our own family member. With that intention, with love and faith, we speak to God. It's very effective. And what carries our prayer is the feelings. With what bhava and feelings we speak to Him. That is the vehicle which carries our communication with God. So we have to be careful. It doesn't become ritualistic. It should not be mechanical, but it should be a very heart-to-heart conversation with God. In case it turns out to be mechanical, shift immediately, make a change, speak something different. Even if you speak something which is, you may see it's worst of life, it's okay, because He's there to listen. Okay. So these are the few things we need to keep in mind. Very quickly, there are 3 types of prayer. Okay. One is what I want in life. The first very foundational level is, I want this, I want this, I want this, which Chamakam says, ye chame, wo chame, all the time, we keep asking. That's a very fundamental foundation, or you can say very selfish style of prayer. I want for myself. But once we migrate to the next level, it is, Swami himself has said this. I think even Ashutosh shared the experience of Tribhuvan Sachdeva in the past, where Swami taught boys how to pray. And that time he says, you have to ask only for God and God alone. Okay, whichever God you like. There's nothing that it has to be Swami or Allah or Jesus. Whichever God is close to heart, ask for Him and Him alone in our prayer. And logic is very simple. You ask for Creator, you get creation as a package. If you ask for creation, you may get creation, you may not get a creator. But you ask Creator, you get creation in package. So dono saath mein mil jata hai. So always ask for God and God alone, and automatically everything else comes to us. That's the second level of prayer. And third level of prayer is samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. When you start experiencing God's presence in your life, because He's doing everything for you. Once you say, God, I only want you, that's my only prayer. I want you and you alone, baki kuch nahi. Like mere to Giridhar Gopal, dusra na koi, which Meera says. If I want only Him and Him alone, everything else will come on its own. And I stop worrying about what I want, because He takes charge. And once we are migrated to that level, the third level of prayer, which is the highest level, is samasta loka sukhino bhavantu, where I have nothing for myself. I only pray for the welfare of the world. So these are the 3 stages of prayer. I just thought I'll cover the entire topic in all respects, and this is something that we can think of.
Yep.
Prayer is a must, because the foundation question was, do we need to do prayer? Yes, prayer is a must. If we don't talk to our own Creator, or don't talk to our own Father or our best relative in the world, then we have not led our lives.
100%.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, comments on this question? Otherwise, we can move forward, because I promise to keep tap on time. Okay, Siddharth, let's move on to the next one. Which one do you want to pick next?
Yeah. So the next question, I've tried to sequence it in a flow so that it is, each one is building on the other. So next question is, how do I know it is my conscience or Bhagavan speaking to me and not my mind or ego? Since we're talking about conversation in the prayer, the next question is, how do I know whether my conscience is telling me or my ego is speaking out?
Interesting. Yeah. What do we feel here? Any thoughts? How to distinguish? Yes, Ushanti, please go ahead. Aapki आवाज नहीं आ रही पर अभी. Maybe you're on mute.
Yeah. Actually, you come to know that it's not you or your conscience, or when you suppose you ask God for something or some answer, or you have a problem, and it comes in such a way that you know it was not you. You know that this would not have been me saying this to myself. So one thing is that, but then sometimes there is a doubt that I have learned this from years and I've heard these answers. So maybe I'm getting influenced by that. But then, we should ask God to confirm it for us. And he does it immediately. एक दो दिन में हो जाता है. Either you will get a sort of a message like that, or I suppose I put on Radio Sai and hear the discourse stream. I hear the same words, or something confirms, yes, it was that, it was me, it was not you. So that feeling does come. So I don't know, if you ask him, he confirms it.
Perfect. So we're saying we just know it most of the time, and if we don't know it, we can ask him to confirm, and he confirms it. है ना? Very interesting perspective. हाँ जी. और कोई any other thoughts? पता कैसे चलता है? ये सबके अलग मेथड्स होते हैं इसमें. So हाँ, आती है, please go ahead.
I think sometimes in a moment of calm, when you're not agitated, if something just pops into your mind, I think that is when Bhagwan is speaking to you.
Yes,
but when you
out of the blue. Out of the blue.
Yes, but when you're thinking about it and all that, then I think it comes from your mind. The solution comes from your mind. But if you're just in a mentally restful and calm state, and then something comes to you, then probably it is Bhagwan or your conscience telling you.
But even if you're thinking about it and you tell him that, please answer me, I'm thinking about this, give me an answer to this, then I'm talking about that situation, then sometimes the answer comes immediately, but you feel you're not sure, this is, not exactly it. And sometimes it's very clear because it has nothing to do with what you're thinking. It has nothing to do what you have been feeling all along. And then you say, oh, I never thought of this. So that is once in a way you get that feeling that it is not you. And the rest of the time, at least for me, then I ask him that, is this you or is it me? So he generally confirms it.
Perfect. Any other thoughts, comments here? I know, Siddharth, you must have some perspective.
Bindu Bhai has raised his hand.
Oh, I think is my screen now, because of where I am right now, but glare aa raha hai, so I may miss that. So if somebody's picking that up, please help me do that.
No
but
problem.
go ahead, Bindu bhaiya, boliye.
Very shortly, I think it is a very ongoing process. It has to be all the time in the life practice where you sit down and have that connection. And the difference between whether mind has said it or the conscience has said it, I think it is perceive or receive. If you perceive it, that means there's something mind play which is going on. But if you receive it, then it is definitely his part who has acted. And I'll just say a very short incident. I was moving around in Sentosa. Singapore has got this tourist spot, and it's about a couple of years back. And the whole family was there, me, daughter, son, and wife. So we were in that tourist bus within the Sentosa Island, which does not have a number. So you can't trace it if you lose something. And I was getting out, the entire wallet fell down. So losing money, a lot of money was there and cards were there. And this whole lot of holiday season, a lot of people. So by the time I reached to the other side, then I realized, oh, the wallet is not there. तब मैं देखा, but where to go? Because the buses don't have number, they're just yellow in color. And my son and daughter were there very close to me. And then I said, there's no point, I stood there. I just prayed. I said, Swami, आप जानते हो, अगर हमने किसी का नहीं लिया है या कभी मेरे से इस तरह की गलती नहीं हुई है, तो भगवान आपकी जिम्मेदारी है. And if suppose there has been something, then it's fine. This was sincere prayer, brother. Because I knew a lot of money I had lost and then losing again so much and credit cards. And you won't believe, there's a guy who's coming there, he's a Sentosa walkie-talkie, those volunteers. And then out of the blue, he comes to me and says, excuse me, were you looking for someone? I said, no, I just was looking for somebody in the bus because I lost my wallet. And then he says, well, I just got a call on the walkie-talkie. In their lost baggage room, they have got some, what color is that wallet? There's something like a purse. Would you mind checking it out? अब आप देखिए कैसे connect होता है. और मैं किसी के पीछे नहीं भागा. And these two children are the witness of that. And that is where you receive it. हम हाथ पैर मारते हैं तो हम perceive करते हैं. We try our best. We don't get it. Only when we surrender, then we start receiving it. And that's where, ahankar, or it is his voice, that becomes apparent. That's all. Sai Ram.
Yeah. Again, we are showing how you pray, impact hota hai. And it beautifully connects to the last question also. Anybody else that I missed here for thoughts on? So we are discussing about कि मालूम कैसे पड़ता है कि mind ego की आवाज आ रही है, उसकी भी आवाज आती है, versus स्वामी की आवाज है, conscience की आवाज है. Any thoughts?
This is Sujata here.
Yeah,
I would
please.
just like to add one thing, and this is a personal experience. Many times, I don't know how to get over this, but many times when the experience is actually happening, you don't really realize that it is Baba. Nahi samajh mein aata hai. You are doing, see, you have ingrained his principles. You have tried your best to live life according to what he has told you. Most certainly, yes. But at that time, when you're undergoing that experience, you are doing things like how Baba wants you to do it. Like, for instance, there was a period of time in our life when there was only struggle. We were like non-stop running. Even today, we are like that. We have no social life. So at that time, there is a lot of loneliness and there's a lot of silence. It is much later, like almost 3-4 years later, that somewhere where I was again in one of those moods, just sitting and meditating, and I heard Baba say, "You didn't hear my voice? Those 4 years, you never heard my voice?" And then I realized that many times when there were challenges or when there were very spooky incidents that were happening, there was always a savior. There was always someone who told you that you have read a lot of things about Baba, but implementing them when you're in trouble is not easy. So someone was doing that mapping for you, that they were telling you that this is what you should be doing. They were, in fact, heightening your discrimination at that point and leading you through the right path. So kabhi, in fact, many times, depending upon the depth of the situation you are in, you are unable to comprehend that it is actually Baba's voice you're hearing. And the assurance and the assertion that it was indeed his, if you have been sincere and if you have been very careful in implementing whatever he told you, he gives you that assurance and assertion later on. वो आता है.
बिल्कुल 100%. Yep. Very beautiful, Auntie. Thanks for sharing. I only thing I would like to add is, and it's very connected, so trying to just connect everybody's thoughts is, everybody has heard of this saying, and if you think about every word in that, I think it summarizes it beautifully from my point of view. Only in the depths of silence is the voice of God heard. So if the mind is agitated, तो फिर mind की आवाज आएगी. Ego होगा तो ego, but if we are depths of silence का पता, and we have spoken about so many situations, कैसे होगा silence mind, और उसमें it's only then when you can hear Swami's voice. Swami is speaking to us all the time. Can you hear him or not? He's playing different roles for us. He's lifting us on that sand and we see only one footstep that's his. So all of that, he's there with us. But the question is here, we are answering is, how do we know it's his voice or not? I think that, to me, the answer is if we have silenced our mind, depths of silence, we can hear it. But I know we are a couple of minutes on this question. So I would like to now hand it over to Siddharth. Siddharth, you want to add any thoughts on this one?
I think all the points very beautifully mentioned. I particularly like Bindu Bhaiya's point of perceive and receive. It's very, very clearly put, because naturally perceive is by the mind and receive is by our real self. And in fact, to put it into perspective, there are two people within us, each one of us. One is our own self. I mean, one is like me, that is ego. And second is the real self, which in other words, we call it voice of conscience or God or Swami or divine energy, soul, whatever you want to name it. So there are two guys inside. Okay, so both are talking. Now, if you want to listen to, if like me and Ashutosh are talking and both of us are talking loudly, then there'll be a chaos. So one of us have to keep quiet. Okay. So if the ego or the artificial or non-self has to keep quiet, then voice of conscience, the other friend who is sitting inside can speak and we are able to hear. So the point with Ashutosh said, voice of conscience is heard in the depth of silence. Now question is, how do we do that? So obviously there are a lot of techniques like meditation, silent sitting, observing your mind, trying to create awareness within. Those aspects are there. But one very practical tip which we can do at any time, just experiment. Maybe take a 24-hour of Maun Vrat. 24 Ghanta, don't speak to anybody. Declare within your family, friends, everybody, or even shut your mobile phone, not on WhatsApp. And I'm telling you, because I'm telling you out of experience, when I joined Parthi Hostel, those days, there was no mobile phones also. And I was left alone. It's the first time ever I'm away from the family at age of 15. And I didn't know what to do. Nobody knew me around. I didn't know anybody around. It was a different culture, different system. And actually, I felt completely left alone. And in those initial period, I could actually see Swami or God or conscience, whatever you name it, was guiding. Ye karo, ye mat karo, ye karo. Because what is happening is the mind has suddenly become quiet. Mind ko samajh mein nahi aa raha kya ho raha hai zindagi mein. So it was accidental. But what happens is when you consciously stop talking or observe silence, Maun Vrat hum log jab rakhte hain, automatically your voice of conscience is heard much more clearly, much more loudly. So you can experiment this as a homework over the next 1.5 months we have got till the next session comes. One day as an experiment, we keep it, declare it as a Maun Vrat, 12 se 12 baje tak. You can eat, there's no issue of eating, but no talking. And just spend time with yourself. You will actually hear loud and clear your conscience speaking to the best of its, the volume that is there. Okay, that's one experiment we can do. Clear case of differentiation, some of the symptoms, okay. Voice of conscience is very sure about its message, whereas mind's voice is shaky. Okay, it is susceptible to change because mind is itself, the nature of mind is, or ego is change, whereas conscience is changeless. So when a conscience is talking to us, it is very, very sure about what it wants to say. There is no shakiness, there is no ifs and buts in it. Mind's voice has ifs and buts. Okay, you can challenge it and it will change. So that is a clear demarcation you can see between two. Second aspect is voice of conscience can be against our wishes also. I aspire to do something, but voice of conscience will say ki ye galat hai, which mind will never say. Mind's voice will affirm to our wish. Mujhe ye karna hai, mind bhi bolega theek hai, wo karo, tumhare liye acha hai. But voice of conscience has that because it's the voice of God. It will always tell us what is right for us, irrespective of our wishes. So when you actually hear the voice, it is telling completely different. Rest for sure that it is coming from directly from the God within. Okay, voice of mind can be selfish as it sees its benefits of its sustenance. Okay, for whatever decisions we take when we want to ask ourselves within, voice of mind is always selfish. It will ask for what is good for itself. Voice of conscience is universal. It will look at what is good for the world. And it is always selfless. It will always give us a guidance what is good for the world. It will never say, you are supposed to, this is good for you and may not be good for others, but this is what you're supposed to do. So this is a clear demarcation, some symptoms, some ideas of how to differentiate. So summarize, voice of conscience, very sure about its message, no ambiguity, can be against our wishes because it always looks at universal good. Whereas voice of mind is little shaky, susceptible to change, can be changed if you challenge it. It is affirming to our wishes because it wants it the way it wants it, and obviously it can be selfish because it wants its sustenance as a priority. So you can demarcate this clearly. These are some. There could be many other symptoms, but these are visible symptoms that we can clearly see. One clear example is the personal experience I've got in this study circle. Also, many times I come with some plan in mind, and I end up speaking completely different, which is not even thought about, not even considered, not even in my memory anywhere. But it comes out. Okay, so I've personally experienced many times in our own study circles, a lot of things are spoken which are not even thought about by me, and those are directly voice of conscience. Okay, because his mind is not able to comprehend, and then later on mind sits and says ki ye kaise aaya, matlab maine kabhi socha bhi nahi tha iske bare mein. And I think most of us would have gone through those experiences in our lives also. So that is a clear thing. A voice of conscience is very, very clear. It doesn't need to feed something from outside to speak. It just speaks blunt and straight. Okay. It doesn't need a sustenance. It is there. It is clear. And very clearly, we have to silence ourselves. for us to be very, very open to listening to the voice. Otherwise, agitated mind, chaotic mind, restless mind will, voice of conscience is speaking, like, suna nahi dega aapne. And that's why, as Aarti aunty said, silence yourself, calm down, and suddenly you will see, there's a very clear message coming to us. So, I mean, these are some other thoughts which I thought we can add.
Very beautifully summarized. Yeah, thanks, Siddharth. I know we have only 5 minutes left. So, Siddharth, do you want to pick up another question? And maybe what we can do is, like, you can share your initial thoughts on that, and then we can see if others have anything to add on that. Do you want to go ahead with the last question in that way?
Okay. Is it okay? I don't know what time if you started sharp at 6:30, we'll close by 7:30. If it is possible to extend by 5 minutes.
I think we started 5 minutes late, but that's okay. But I was thinking still, because, additional thoughts after your thoughts, thinking what gets covered, what doesn't get covered. That way we handle this question separately. What do you think? Okay. And if there is one more question you want to take after that, I know because you said 4, if you want to club the 2, I'll leave that up to you. However you want to tackle the next fight, and 10 minutes le sakte minimum. Usse zyada, I think if everybody's okay, we can take more.
Okay, sure. So
unfortunately, I will have to drop off in 5 minutes because I have another call to get it onto. But please go ahead, yeah. Please go ahead, share.
Okay, sure. So the third question is as of this moment, I'm just reading out the question. As of this moment, if I want to stop incurring good or bad karmas, okay, at this moment, I want to stop incurring good or bad karmas. What do I do? How do I think? What should be my attitude? Okay, as of this moment, if I want to stop incurring good or bad karmas, it's not bad karmas, good or bad karmas, what should I do? How do I think? And what should be my attitude? I think we discussed about this during our 3-4 sessions of karma and destiny. If we are able to recollect, it'll answer the question straight away.
I feel one should totally surrender to God and accept his ways, whatever comes. That is one way of accepting it. Because when you totally surrender yourself, you are able to accept whatever comes your way. Because you have got firm faith in your God, and you know that whatever is good for you, he will give you only that. For example, as I told probably earlier also, when my husband was very, very sick, I used to be always agitated and worried and full of fears. But the moment one day I thought to myself, how long am I going to fear like this? I surrendered everything to him. I said, whatever happens, let it happen. I will accept it. The only thing that I ask from you is my mental strength and the physical stamina that he gave me. In very composed way, I went through the suffering or whatever you call it. That is the answer. I feel total surrender to him.
Okay, no, I think well said. Well said. So it is partly yes, but yeah, we can expand this a bit more. You have hit the important point. We can expand a bit more. But anybody else? Any other thoughts?
Yes, Vasudev here. I was enjoying the Shravanam part of it because I'm newcomer, joined today. About the effect of your karma, very practical thing is, if you're being with Swami, with his teachings, the first thing when you take up a karma, at that point, Auntie said about surrender, you have to fix your motto that this I am doing and offering it to the lotus feet of Bhagavan. And pray to Bhagavan, as I am going on this endeavor, you guide and direct me. I will relate it to the prayer also. You can ask how much, whatever you want, Mangilal Bano. Like at the end of the prayer, Bhagavan, I ask so many things, but whatever is good to our family and to the world, let that happen. Whatever asked, you may not give me. This is what you have to ask when you are a benevolent father. And end it like this. And the last prayer would be that God, whenever I'm about to commit any mistake, whenever I'm going to do something wrong, please come in whichever form and grace me. In that way, when our advantage is, we start seeing and looking out for somebody who will come and give us guidance in the form that is of Swami is coming in that form. And the prayer should always be started without an agitated mind, whatever problem we may be having. I say this, I am correlating with the karma, because when you start you start to do something, first prayer is, Swami, I'm going to offer it to you. Please guide, and just be graceful enough that when, if I'm doing something wrong and I'm taking some people with me to the wrong side of the path, please, in any form, इसमें दो चीज होता है, एक तो हम मांगीलाल नहीं बनते, एक तो हम submission surrender आता है कि मैंने, I have asked so many things, but whatever is good, you know it better, let that happen. And I'll go back to the first part. Many things were told about children, and it was discussed nicely that one thing is we have to remember that we were like that. Only one proposition I would put, that if tomorrow each one of us tonight get a dream that Swami comes and says, tomorrow I'll send 10, 12-year-old boy to your house, you have to take care of him. How we will look at that boy sent by Bhagwan, and next morning one boy is standing there, Swami has sent me. This is a proposition. Imagine creativity. How will we react to the situation? We'll be happy, but the boy turns out to be very, very, very effulgent with energy and doing all sorts of naughtiness. Will we think of talking to him in an angry tone, getting angry and slapping him? No, somebody will say we will try, but Swami has sent, and Swami has told that this boy will be with you for 3 to 4 years and I'll take it back. So you will do anything. He goes to the neighbor, he breaks the pot, you will not get angry. The same situation is, we showed that Khalil's this thing, that the children have come through us. So ये जो possessiveness हम छोड़ेंगे कि this is my child and he's not studying, he's doing this, we have the submission, and then we can always pray to Swami how to go about it. Control and care with anybody, not only children or interpersonal control. We try to control and care. I think WhatsApp University may have brought it out. The only problem is possessiveness. If I am a leader in a group, I want to do it this way, I want to do it this way only. But whose project it is, me or Swami's? So the prayer and faith goes together. If you have faith in Swami, when you pray, it should be a calm mind. And when you pray with a calm mind, the answer to the second question comes. You will immediately know, because the mind is not asking. You are quiet, mind is still. So these are all interconnected. Even the job which you are doing, in every moment, if you are thinking that Swami is going to stop me if I am going wrong, you look out to any advice. It may be contrary to what you think. So the surrender, faith, prayer and action comes together.
Patience.
Pardon?
Patience.
When the boy is sent by Swami, can you lose patience? And the children we have got, we have not decided that it will be a boy or a girl. We can't decide whether the child should be having this and that form healthy. It's sent by Swami only. For our children, if you think always that this is God-given gift, and this gift has to be given back to him, how would we give the gift back?
Correct.
Life is a gift from God. How you live it is a return gift to God. Even the children is a gift. We should be ready to return it back to him. That removes the possession part of it. Saira.
Sure. No, thank you. Thanks, Uncle. Yeah. Aarti Aunty, you want to say something?
Yes. What I am saying is that if we can take the I-ness out of it, I am doing this, I am thinking like that. Now that is another question of sadhana, that how that I-ness goes. But if at any moment we are able to disassociate from the I, that that we take full responsibility for everything, then I think maybe we can put a stop to the karmas that are coming our way, good or bad. Our actions, if we we believe that it's not matlab that Bhagwan and me are one, and it's Bhagwan, and I accept it. Things may not be according to what I want, and I might even have to face something that I'm not comfortable about. But if I'm able to accept that is his will, and he is doing it, and it is for my best, maybe I can break this karmic cycle. Sairam.
Sairam, only one sentence. Spirituality is nothing. It would better if I say in Hindi. आध्यात्मिकता एक ही चीज है, अपना अस्तित्व मिटाकर उनका अस्तित्व में रहना. That is God. उनका अस्तित्व लाना है. So in thoughts, words and deeds, we have to be careful. It is a bit difficult to practice, but you can get it every time. In parts, 1%, 10% like that. अपना अस्तित्व में अपना ईगो चढ़ जाता है. Sairam.
I feel detaching yourself from all the actions, like think through me, speak through me, act through me. When you detach yourself from the karma that you're doing, then you don't incur. That's what I feel.
Okay, so well said. So all the points taken. For want of time, I'm trying to close the discussion on this question. See, one thing is, again, I'm going back to the question because we need to answer this question, then going around the question per se. As of this moment, I want to stop incurring good or bad karmas. Now, one important point, whoever has asked this question, we cannot avoid doing karmas, okay, at any cost. Even a self-realized soul has to do a karma. Why self-realized soul? Even Swami Satya Sai Baba, incarnation of Kali age, also did karmas. Because we are in the karma yoni, we cannot avoid. And even if you say, for example, even eyelids, if I have to close and open, is also a karma. It's an action. My hands are moving is also an action. My breathing is also an action. So how can I avoid taking the karma? The karma is given its inbuilt system. So I cannot avoid doing karmas. Okay, first thing, because the first part of the question is how do I stop incurring good and bad karmas at this moment? So you cannot, first basic premises, we cannot avoid karmas. But second important point is, how do we purify the karmas which are currently doing? Okay, the sense of surrender which we spoke about is the last level, is the third or the final level. But before that, we need to purify our agami karmas. Agami karmas, as we know, what I'm doing right now in this life. Okay, and then, all of us have discussed at length on this, that, it has to be at the thought level. Thought leads to feeling, feeling leads to attitude, attitude leads to action, and action leads to destiny. So that entire chain that we discussed earlier. So our agami karma has to be extremely pure. And for the pure, thought is the foundation. And for the thought, what information that we receive from outside world, what environment we are. So having a good company, having satsang around us, and information that we take through our eyes, nose, ears, mouth, all the karmendriyas has to be pure and divine. Because that is the food for thought. That is where the thought gets built. Okay, and obviously purifying a subconscious mind as well, which all the dirt and muck which you have accumulated over last several janmas, that also needs to be cleaned up. So once you have the foundation cleaned up, the next level is, that is where agami karmas will become pure. As we move on to the purity, obviously, we reach a level where all of us just discussed about it, that the sense of doership is gone. Okay, karmas continue to happen, but I don't have sense of doership. I'm not offering the fruits of action. I'm only saying I am just an instrument of God. Even the karmas, God is going to do through me. So till I'm in this body, the God is going to do the karmas through me. Whether it is thought, word, and deed, everything is going to be done by Him. So roots say Bhagwan kar rahe. So karmas will happen, but it will be done by Him. The sense of doership is completely surrendered at the divine lotus feet. So naturally, once you do that, you are not the doer. So there is no way the good or bad effects of karmas can come to us. Okay. Because mere surrender, if we just say, I want to surrender the fruits of action, that means we still did an action, the fruits are being surrendered. But the more fundamental aspect, it's not wrong. The more fundamental aspect is the sense of doership itself is offered. So fruits of action comes at a second level, but the first level pe maine sense of doership hi de diya hai. So it's up to God. And it's not momentary, because many times what happens, we go through a moment when we are completely helpless. And when that time we say, God, I don't have a choice, I have to surrender to you. So those are momentary surrender, which are not actual surrender in that sense. But a real surrender is thought, word, and deed. Subah se raat tak, even sone ke time bhi, everything is done by Him. That kind of firm faith, that kind of consistent practice of constant prayer. If I may bring the concept of prayer, constant prayer, God, every moment, every thought, word, and deed do through me. I'm just an instrument. Okay, the sense of doership is completely offered 24/7. It's not momentary. Then we have reached that highest level of, where the karmas happen, but it doesn't affect me anymore. Good or bad, it's not that I don't want bad karmas. Means good karma effect aane do, bad karmas ka effect mat aane do. That differentiation also has to be dissolved. Even good karmas, कोई पुण्य नहीं मिलेगा. In sense of doership दे दिया, बहुत अच्छा नारायण सेवा भी किया, no punya zakru to us. We have to let go everything, bad and good both. So that is where Bhagavan says that that is where the work is worship. That Swami's ultimate saying comes into the practice. You just do work as worship, because all the time you're doing, God, you do through me. I'm just an instrument. I'm just a witness. I'm just an instrument. Okay, with that bhava, when we do, everything is done by him. And he does it. So he incurs whatever he wants to incur, good, bad, ugly. It's up to him. It's no longer up to us. So, and also Bhagavad Gita also says the same thing, right? Karmanneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. I have nothing about the effects of the karmas or doing of the karma. The sense of doership is completely given out. So that is the level where at this moment, if I want to stop incurring good or bad karmas, question was, what do I do? Look at, introspect and see whether how my agami karmas are correct. Because through agami karmas purification, only we can reach that level of sense of doership. It's not that this overnight we can, say it tomorrow morning onwards, I'm not a doer. We may say by lip service, but do we have actually imbibed it and do we experience it? So वो level पे पहुंचने के पहले we need to purify the agami karma. So purification के through all that we discussed over last 1 year about cleaning the the lens, cleaning the cloth that we saw black to gray to white. That is where agami karmas are getting purified. And what happens once the cloth is completely white? We remove the cloth and then only everything is done by the God himself, which is the light. So all those aspects, it's a journey which we need to go through. It's not overnight that we can stop doing karmas. Karmas will happen till we have a human body. But the sense of doership is transferred. It's a contract between us and God that you are the owner, you do the doership. I'm just an instrument for you. So that is the shift we need to kind of look at. It's a journey. It is not happen immediately, because the question says at this moment, if you've reached that level, fantastic. If you've not reached the level, it is a journey, and someday at the right time, it will happen when the sense of doership is eternally given out to God. Okay, I hope that provides the clarity to the question. So we are at 7:42. I leave it to the everyone, whether should we continue or should we wind up? We have answered, I think.
Please continue.
10 minutes more, we can continue now.
Okay. Is it okay with all?
Yes.
Yeah, we are going to miss it for a long time next month. So yes, it's fine.
Yeah, we're going to have a vacation in November, no?
Siddharth, just one question, if you can take it.
Sure.
Just last question. Yeah.
So there are, out of top 5, we have done 3, and there's 4th and 5th question. Maybe I'll pick up my favorite question. Okay, you give me that little freedom to pick up between 4 and 5. 5th question, I'll take it up because it's extremely important. Probably it will also take care of the 4th question. The main 5th question was, how do I know I am growing spiritually? Are there any milestones along the way to enlightenment? It's a very beautiful question. It captures all the practices that we do, and whatever level, because all of us are on that path of enlightenment. Whether we do it, we know it, or we don't know it, we are already on that path. So it's a very good question that how do we grow on this? There are a lot of things to be discussed here, but I can summarize. But before I go into that, anybody wants to share their thoughts? What are the key milestones on the journey of enlightenment?
Saira, I feel if you are not attained a certain sadhana level, it is just like Swami has told, a monkey plants one twig of a mango tree in the rose plant in the ground, and every week it removes it to see whether the roots have come. So unless you have attained some stillness of the mind, this will keep on, this will encourage the wavering of the mind. It's like कहते हैं कि ज्ञानी का बड़ा एक आदत है, ज्ञान की सीढ़ी पर ऊपर जाते जाते वो बार बार नीचे देखता है मैं कितना ऊपर पहुंच गया हूँ. Why not surrender and leave it to God? I have entered your path. Okay, in between once in 6 months we can have a what you can audit of where I was and where I am. But every week, if you want to see, it is just like the monkey going to say how much I have improved. Who is improving whom? The parameter of your stillness throughout the day will show how much, like Indubai once asked Swami, 9-point code of conduct, Swami, acha, but how will we know that the persons are doing it? Swami said, why do you want? Very simple, 24 hours awake in the awakened stage, how we behave will tell whether he is practicing 9-point code of conduct. Saira.
Sure, I think you covered an important point. We will elaborate a bit on that, but well said. Yeah, Aarti aunty.
I think if you can be a little more compassionate, if you find that you are being little less judgmental, if you find that you are not getting so hurt, you know, your ego or self-identification is coming down. If you are able to accept things a little sooner rather than losing your equilibrium, and if you are able to even at least interact with people who have either hurt you, harmed you, if you are just able to not totally dislike them, I feel that you have probably moved a little closer to growing or being the way Bhagwan would like us to be. And if you are able to love people, we have this worldly love, but somehow if we can transcend it and go towards what Swami wants, unconditional love, I think that would be truly growing spiritually. Saira.
It's like removing the negativity and all the negative thoughts we keep on reading in ourselves, this person like that, removing the negativity to bring in the positivity.
Okay, no, well said. So again, a lot of important points covered by both of you. Anybody else? Before we finalize.
Normally, I'm in the habit of praying for others. For example, anybody, whether they are known to me, unknown to me, they are sick or they are in great trouble. Every day when I go to bed, I tell Swami, you are the only one person who can give them the solace, bring them out from the deep problem. Okay, there are certain problems which I cannot elaborate now here because of time. People who are suffering endlessly, you know, they are neither living nor they are dying. तो मैं भगवान से इतना कहती हूँ कि आप उनको मुक्ति दो अच्छी तरह से. I do this every day for everybody, even with my servant. I never raise my voice and I speak to her. With nobody, I like to get angry. I don't like to put wrong thoughts in anybody's mind. For example, my servant, she is married. She was a widow and she again got married and she has got, 2 children of her first. But never ever I tell her, they are also your children. You are a very good natured lady. Just because the neighbors are trying to poison your mind, never get poisoned. Be always good. You always be good. Do always good things to others. You will get, God's blessings. That is how I look at praying to God or whatever it is.
Okay. No, I think it's a third level of prayer, which we said, Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu, where you want to pray for the welfare of the world. So yeah, it's that level of consistency. If you reach, is one of the you can say again symptoms of, or not milestone, but symptoms of there's a change which is happening within us. Okay, since for want of time, let me summarize some of the quick thoughts on this. How do I know? I'm reading the question again. How do I know I'm growing spiritually? Are there any milestones along the way to enlightenment? As Vasudeva uncle said, yes. How much calmer your mind is? Okay, how much calmer your mind is one way. It's again a self-check. Have I become more calmer than what I was 1 year back, or 6 months back, or 2 months back? How much of my opinions I'm trying to push to people? Very, very important test that we need to go through. How much opinion means, it's like, how can you say no to my opinion? Many times we get into an argument. So are we really pushy about our opinions? See, it's not that you should not have opinion. Have an opinion, explain the logic behind it, and leave it at that. Because, it's a sense of ego. If I really want to push my opinion in any discussion or any argument, it shows that how much ego I am, how much attached to my thought process I have. So that is one of the other aspect that we need to see. Those pushiness of opinions reduces as we are on the journey to enlightenment. Very easy for us to let go things. Nahi hota hai, theek hai. It doesn't affect our mind. So our ability to let go things again is an important milestone that we will go through when we are reaching the path of enlightenment. And obviously you give priority to peace of mind than everything else. Peace of mind is topmost in your list of priorities, even at the cost of wealth, even at the cost of money, job, relationships. Peace of mind. Relationship in the sense not going away from relationship, but between the two quarreling people, if peace of mind is my priority, I am okay to bend. Okay, I'm not willing to, again, my opinion is better than you're supposed to listen to me. It's not. My peace of mind is important. I'm willing to let go things. So my prioritization of life, how it changes in that journey is one of the key milestones we need to check. In fact, what we see is we start giving more and more priority to God and the world in our decision making. When the life makes us, brings a decision in front of us, now you take a call what you want to do. That is the time we need to check. Is it God or world? Is it good for the world or is it good for myself? Is it individual discrimination, fundamental discrimination, as Swami puts it? So that proportion of priority to God substantially increases as we are moving more and more closer towards enlightenment. And this is specifically when we are going through a decision-making situation. Key decisions of life. Is God important or world is important? If you give priority to the world, we are still a bit far off than reaching the milestone. If you're giving more and more priority to God as compared to what we were in the past, we are progressing on that divine journey of enlightenment. Okay. Other aspects, all of us have Shadripus. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matcharya. None of us, a person who has no Shadripus has actually achieved enlightenment. But on the path of enlightenment, how faster we are recovering from those Shadripus? Do I hold anger for several years in my mind and then give the retaliation after 10 years? Or I get angry today and I immediately next moment I'm out of it. I don't hold any grudges against the person on whom I got angry on. Okay. So how faster we recover from the Shadripus that we have? Those are other, it's not that faster recovery means everything is wonderful. No, we ultimately need to eliminate the Shadripus. But from the progress of, say, I'm holding for longer period of time my anger to now I'm holding lesser period of time and lesser and lesser and lesser, and eventually I stop getting angry. So that's the journey, in the Shadripus that we will see the difference when we are moving on the path of enlightenment. Likes and dislikes reduce. I don't have any more strong likes and dislikes. Every aspect of life, right from cooking to eating the food and choice of clothes to choice of houses that I buy or choice of my cars or choice of my jobs, likes and dislikes reduce. It's not that you don't have likes and dislikes, we have it, but we are not pushy towards it. So all the things that we try to push in life, those pushiness reduces. The resistance to life reduces and the acceptance improves. So that's a key shift that happens. Acceptance goes up, resistance comes down. And naturally that leads to lesser and lesser stress in life. Okay, interest in God grows leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds. A time comes when you can't live without God. These are some of the very important milestones of when your journey, moving towards enlightenment. So interest in God, it is a very nascent stage in the beginning, and as it progresses, it grows more and more and more and more, so much so that you cannot live without God. And when you reach that level, naturally detachment to world becomes very natural. Last session we discussed about the cow dung cakes, dry ho ke gir jate hai. That is how detachment to world just falls apart, because the interest in God and love for God has grown leaps and bounds. Okay, in a technical language, we can say your heart chakra has opened up. If you want to use technical language, your heart chakra has opened up. There is immense love for the God, immense love for everybody's mind. That level of progress that we reach. Okay, resilience power also increases substantially, and we are able to withstand any external turbulence in life. If you actually see, all these are interconnected, but I'm just trying to break it into small parts so it is easy for us to understand. Resilience power is so high that tomorrow anything goes ups and downs in life, I'm still at a calm state of mind. I have that power, and because of my calmness of mind, I'm able to take right decisions in life also. Okay, not in an agitated mind I take calls. So decisions are also right, and resilience power increases. And going back to the previous question, My voice of conscience is easily heard because I'm actually very state of, mind is very, very calm. So I'm able to listen to the voice of conscience. I'm able to take right decisions, even if the worst things are happening outside. If you are, reaching to these levels, these are the important milestones to be looked at. Awareness level substantially goes up. Here I can use an analogy of the mind. Imagine the mind is like a pond. Okay, just imagine a mind is like a pond, and there are waves. जो हम लोग waves बोलते हैं ना, thoughts. Those are like waves. So in that waves are the more and more number of waves. The pond level is not clear, right? We're not able to see through the water of the pond below. And the waves को बढ़ने वाला क्या चीज है? The pebbles which come from outside. People throw all kinds of dirt at us. People throw all kinds of thoughts at us. People throw all kinds of, those are pebbles that are going into the pond of mind. When you are on this path of enlightenment, you're able to visualize that pebble is flying in there. It's about to come and hit me, hit my pond. वो लेवल का अवेयरनेस तुरंत आ जाता है. उसके वजह से यू एडवांस में समझ में आता है कि अभी मुझे गुस्सा आने वाला है.
Correct.
And moment आने वाला है, you are able to immediately take a back seat. So root से अपना anger, shut repose जो आने वाला है वो आपको पता चलता है because awareness levels have gone up. So अभी का situation में क्या है? Pebble डाल दिया, मैं नाराज हो गया तुरंत. Means I have reacted to it. That reaction to response level goes up because I'm now able to see the pebble is about to come. It's coming. Somebody is throwing, if I may use the foul word of shit, somebody is throwing a shit at me. But I'm able to visualize.
Sujata here. Can
Yeah.
this extend to all kind of company? That is, when you are in some company, like I have always felt, if you are in negative company, Baba wants you that ये company अच्छा नहीं है तुम्हारे लिए. You rather stay alone than in this company. So what you're saying, you can sense their negativity or that their thoughts are not in line with spiritual practices. What you're saying, does it extend to that also?
It extends to everything in life. It's about yourself. It's not about the environment. I'm saying about a personal level of enlightenment. When my journey to enlightenment is irrespective of which company.
So you can sense that यहाँ पे कुछ हो रहा है that is not right, which is not on the which will harm me in my path. So any such environment where you can sense that, is that also not is that also a part of what you're saying just now?
No, what I didn't get you is if what is happening is something not right outside, how that is connected.
No, not outside. Like you are only able to sense it. Like you're saying that they are throwing pebbles.
Yeah.
So, anything in the environment, in any environment where you can sense such things that what is happening here is against what we believe in or against what we are trying to achieve through our mind, and so therefore you take a back seat. Like you're saying, abhi gussa aane wala hai. So you realize that abhi probably जो होने वाला है वो मेरे लिए मेरे प्रोग्रेस के लिए मेरे बाबा ने जो बोला है उसके अगेंस्ट होने वाला है, निकल जाओ. So that kind of a warning is also a part of what you're saying, I think.
Yeah. So if something is going wrong, if you're part of it, your ability to put your thoughts, against all odds improves because you're so confident about yourself. Despite that, if the majority decision is taken, you also have the confidence to walk away from that. जो normal case में नहीं होता because we conform to the herd mentality. सभी लोग करते तो मैं भी करता हूँ.
You are right.
But
you are right.
Because you are moving on the path of truth, your confidence and self-esteem is so high because you're very close to your real self, where the source of confidence is. That your ability to withstand, your resilience power, your ability to put your thoughts very clearly goes up substantially. And tomorrow, without worrying, if still the world doesn't listen to you, you feel it is wrong, you have the capacity to walk away also without guilt. Which normal case mein nahi hota.
I would like to add here, suppose in the meeting or Sai meeting, something wrong is going on. And if you add that it is wrong, it may erupt. So udasinta lana hai, but don't keep quiet. After the meeting, go home and call that person. I didn't want the meeting to go haywire, but on this subject, in this matter, what is being decided is completely wrong. You are the leader, you can take it, but it is my andar se awaaz aaya isliye. What we do is in the meeting only we agitate it by, no, this is not correct in 1953 and 1940 it happened. So the answer is, one line answer is, the parameter to see whether you have grown spiritually is, have you increased your humbleness? I mean, it is very deceptive to the mind. I have seen in meeting, my humble suggestion, and if it is not taken, the real thing comes up. He is agitated. So the parameter is how your suggestions are accepted with wholeheartedness is what will show that you have evolved into a better person. It need not be that in the office you are the boss, they will take it and at the backside. But in the real man-to-man, we can understand. And the thing is, the danger of anger is not to react immediately. Anger, you add D to is, it is danger. That's what Swami has told us. Danger, anger plus D in front. So you can always show that something is going wrong. You can wait and tell them this is wrong. And again, that first part comes, whether the decision is taken as per my advice or not, leave it. Because one thing I have learned the hard way is advice is like castor oil, easy to give, but difficult to take. You can give and leave it then.
Sure. Thanks for adding that. Just last couple of points. As per Vedanta, as per the Vedanta, and this is, I'm just taking the quote from Dr. Deepak Chopra. I think some of you or most of you may know him. So he has quoted this, that as per Vedanta, there are two ways, which are the clear symptoms of enlightenment. Okay, the indications that a transformation is taking place within us towards a higher level of consciousness. And the first symptom is that we stop worrying about the future. Okay, things don't bother us anymore. We become far more light-hearted and full of joy. So your ability to remain in a state of bliss, the proportion increases substantially in a day.
Equipoise.
Okay, so equipoise is one where Sita Prajna, where things up and down, I'm having a state of calm mind. At the same time, I'm no longer worried about my future because I'm living in the present. All the time I'm living in the present. Okay. And second aspect is you will encounter, in fact, is more and more visible into the gross level is we start encountering more and more meaningful coincidences in life. Even, we technically called a word as synchronicities. I think most of us will know a lot of synchronicities happen. And many times we have heard this, when you have a selfless thought, obviously the entire universe comes to support it. So that is a larger aspect, but synchronicity is something where you have a very pure level of, inner consciousness. Your mind is so pure, whatever thought that come, many times it manifests or you happen to see it immediately. Ke aane wala is also we sometimes call it as an intuition. So intuition, synchronicities, coincidences, this happen more and more frequently in a visible material world around us. Okay, and a time comes, at a higher level when we start actually experiencing a lot of miracles. Ye maine socha tha and it happened. Means I never thought ki itna jaldi se hoga. I think all of us have a lot of experiences about these kind of things in our life because we are already on the path of spirituality, but the frequency increases. Every day in and day out, you will start seeing, ye maine khali socha tha, itne saalon se hua nahi, aaj ho gaya. I have never met a person and, today morning I thought and he gave me a call. Okay. 20 साल के बाद कॉल कर रहा है लेकिन आज सबसे पहले उसका विचार आया and see the synchronicity that happened. So a time comes, the frequency goes up substantially and you start feeling, because what is happening is you're becoming more and more and more closer to your real self. Your mind has completely got tamed or purified and it's becoming more and more closer to your real self. And because of that, obviously you start seeing more and more frequency of this miraculous things happening outside. So these are some of the very visible, you can say, milestones on the path of enlightenment. Obviously, a time comes when the entire world is ours. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam becomes a reality in our heart. It's not a lip service anymore. We actually feel everybody's mine. Mere hi hai sab log. That difference of me, mine, and thine completely gets dissolved. That level of expansion of consciousness happens, and eventually the enlightenment, the last step, which you merge with your real self, which is the ego is gone, the mind is gone, and there is only real self which remains. So it's a very beautiful journey. It has ups and downs also. It is like a snake and ladder story, but it is probably the only worthwhile journey to be taken in life. Everything else is ephemeral. So I think that's about it in terms of this question. And
beautiful, Siddharth.
Yeah, very beautiful.
It is
very, very beautifully said, the last part.
Yeah, listening to you is really rewarding. It's amazing.
Sing to God.
Yes.
We are just a mouthpiece. Postman.
Kavita ji hasn't said anything. Kavita ji.
time ho gaya, Siddharth. So
we'll end.
next session, like 5th of December, we have the next. So in next, we can take up the rest of the 5 questions, 4 questions, whatever is left, so that everybody is benefited. If you take one by one to one, you know, so others won't be able to take benefit of that. So why don't we have a full session on this when we start on 5th December?
Sure.
Yeah. So we
Chalega.
can end with Sutoma. Yes.
Okay. Oh. Shanti. 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 Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti. 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की
Jai.
जय.
Jai.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Thank you, everyone. Sai
I'll miss
Ram.
the sessions till December 5th. Sai Ram.
Thank you. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Great job, everyone. Thanks, Sai Ram.
Yes.
Sai Ram, Shubharatri to all.
Okay.
Sai Ram.
Yes. Very happy Diwali to you all.
Yeah, same to you.